7. Umo. Extraterrestrials from the planet Umo have bases on Earth in at least 8 countries. Antonio Ribera. Antonio Ribera tells, in UFO, Contact from Planet Umo, of his contact with a group of beings from the planet Umo who arrived in 1950, established their bases, and acclimatized themselves. In 1965 they began to make contact with 20 people in Spain. Most of these people had some openness to the possibility of extraterrestrials, for they all belonged to a group called the Society of Friends of Space. The Umites said they also had contact with other groups all over the world. They claimed that in 1948 they picked up a strange radio signal which they were unable to decipher. They eventually traced it to this solar system. The actual transmission had occurred in 1934 and had taken 14 years to reach their planet. Later earthly investigations confirmed that the transmission had occurred. The Umites were surprised at there being intelligent life on this planet and decided to investigate this civilization. They first landed in La Havie in Les Bases Alpes in France. The landing was unobserved and an investigative party of 4 men and 2 women was left on Earth. The Umites told Antonio Ribera that their planet orbits a star astronomers refer to as Wolf 424, which is 14 light-years from Earth. The planet Umo is quite similar to Earth. The Umites are extremely telepathic. They very much believe in the existence of the soul and in a creator God. At the age of 13.7, Umite children leave their families for teaching centers where they are prepared for adult life. They make practical use of at least 10 dimensions of reality and are aware of far more. They say one of the reasons they are able to travel such far distances in such a short time in their spacecraft is that they use folds and warps in the space continuum. They have sophisticated technology, and their craft can exceed the speed of light. Although similar to humans in appearance, one marked physiological difference is that their fingers are very sensitive to light and other forms of radiation. For this reason they find it difficult to use light switches and electrical apparatus of all kinds. It was in 1967 that the group in Madrid began to receive an extraordinary number of phone calls and letters from the Umites on Earth. They hired a typist to type all the letters and told this person they were Danish doctors. When the typist became uncomfortable with the content of the letters, the Umites produced a tiny sphere, just an inch or so in diameter. This sphere was placed in mid-air, and as the typist looked into it he saw a scene that had occurred the preceding day when he had been at home with his wife. There was no logical explanation for how this could have been done unless the Umites were telling the truth about themselves. They eventually opened bases in 8 other countries. Researchers have received over 1,740 pages of written material from the Umites in Spanish and French and over 6,000 in all languages combined. Their ships have been photographed 6 different times with scores of witnesses of each sighting. Landing tracks have been found on the ground, and metal artifacts have been recovered. I am grateful to Antonio Ribera for recording this information in UFO, Contact from Planet Umo. 8. Iarga. The people of Earth do not have the values or ethics of an advanced civilization, and this is blocking the way for the people of Earth to achieve cosmic integration. The Iargans. The planet Iarga is about 10 light-years from Earth's sun. I first became aware of this advanced civilization when I read UFO, Contact from Planet Iarga by Stefan Denerde and Lieutenant Col. Wendell C. Stevens. Denerd's first contact occurred while on his boat with his wife. In the middle of the ocean they bumped into a flat metallic object floating in the water. Then he saw a body and dived in to save the person. To his surprise, the individual was wearing some kind of metallic suit. Upon pulling him to safety, Denerde noticed that the metallic fabric that remained under the water had lit up. Coming toward him was another being with a human body but an animal's face. Denerde tried to escape, but his boat wouldn't move. The extraterrestrial beings got the body and then left. From the platform on their craft, they politely bowed. Denerde began to relax when they spoke to him in English and thanked him for rescuing their crew member. They proceeded to tell him that they came from another solar system. That began a long discussion which ended up in an agreement between them that Denerde would spend 2 days with them on their ship while they told him about life on their planet. They are a very advanced society, both technologically and spiritually, and they began by saying that they had not made themselves known to humanity because those of Earth do not know the laws of higher civilization or have the values and ethics of an advanced civilization, and that is preventing Earth from achieving cosmic integration. To share advanced technological information with a spiritually and socially undeveloped planet would be a crime and would be against cosmic law. They noted that humans are carrying on probes to Mars when half the world's population lives in poverty and hunger. Cosmic isolation can be lifted only when a minimum level of ethics has been reached. This communication with Denerde was their first open physical contact. They invited Denerde into their spacecraft and showed him a sort of holographic film of their planet and civilization. Their planet has a much thicker atmosphere, so the people of Iarga do not see bright sunlight, and they see nothing of a moon or stars. Iarga is a green planet with a misty light. They refer to Earth as the blue planet, and the bright green ocean covers most of Iarga's surface. The temperature range is much smaller, but rain and snow can be 10 times greater. Since the population is 100 times larger than that of Earth, and the amount of dry land is much less than that of Earth, they have to be extremely efficient in how they run their society. Denerde viewed amazing house facilities and transoceanic rail connections. There is no money on Iarga. They have an entirely different kind of political and economic system based on total equality for all. They call this system cosmic economics. It is not like either communism or capitalism. They hold selfless service, immortality, and cosmic integration as their highest goals. There are no class distinctions, and chores are shared by everyone. Females and males are equals. Their society is entirely based on a sort of Christian love. The Iargans stand approximately 5 feet tall. They were originally amphibians and still have webs between their fingers and toes. Their sex drive is totally different from sexuality on Earth, for theirs is born completely of love and never of lust. A male-female relationship based only on sex would be considered completely degrading. Their consciousnesses function according to the principle of mind over matter. They view Earth's isolation as being not only isolation from extraterrestrial intelligence but also isolation from God and the goals of His creation. Earth's isolation will end when the masses of humanity acknowledge God and their true purpose for being on Earth. There is much more I could say about this fascinating civilization, but I just want to give you a sense of an interesting galactic neighbor. These beings might look strange in appearance, but there is nothing strange about what lives in their hearts and consciousnesses. For more information, I recommend reading UFO Contact from Planet Iarga. This book by Denerde and Stevens is the source of the material in this chapter. 9. Mars. The purpose of my coming is to help man return to God. Valiant Thor, Martian visitor. One of the most amazing extraterrestrial contacts I have come across in my research was a physical visitation to Earth by a being from Mars. This being was a guest of the United States government for over 3 years. His name was Valiant Thor. His first known contact with government officials occurred in March 1957 when the Alexandria, Virginia Police Department notified the Pentagon that 2 on-duty police officers had picked up an alien. His physical appearance was similar to that of a human. He was immediately shuttled underground to meet the Secretary of Defense and President Dwight D. Eisenhower. He warned President Eisenhower that the world was in a very precarious state and that if it continued to move in the direction in which it was going, it was headed for self-destruction. Besides the dangers of nuclear war, there was also worldwide economic collapse to be concerned about. He indicated that his race lived underground. As I have mentioned, bases have been set up on Mars, and NASA photos show past civilizations there. When I first came in contact with this story through Dr. Frank Strange's book, Stranger at the Pentagon, I immediately asked Dwal Kool about the truth or fiction of Valiant Thor's existence, and Dwal told me the information was true. Valiant Thor was immediately liked by those who met him. His ability and thought transference and his goodwill were notable. He and his people offered to help the human family. The president stated that he thought that if he accepted the help of Val, along with that of the High Council of Mars, it would throw the economy of the United States into chaos. NASA scientists found Val's spacesuit to be indestructible. Diamond drill bits and even lasers couldn't affect it. In private conversations with Dr. Frank Strange's, a UFO researcher, Val said that his purpose in coming was to help man return to God. He said that 77 of his crew were walking among the people of the United States. One thing that astounded scientists was that he had no fingerprints. Val was instructed by his High Council on Mars to leave on March 16, 1960. In the 3 years during which he was a guest of the United States government, very few people took advantage of his guidance. On that date he dematerialized and departed from his earthly mission. Dr. Frank Strange's, who had befriended Valiant Thor and had listened to his guidance, was driving in his car in Beverly Hills, California, a year later when Valiant Thor appeared in the back seat. Meetings such as that continued for the next several years. Communication bases began to be set up in people's homes around the world, using equipment far beyond normal technology. One of the instruments was a holographic communicator that allowed you to see the person you were communicating with so realistically that you couldn't tell if the holographic image was real or not. Val told of a mothership, his home base, which currently orbits this planet. Dr. Strange's had the opportunity to visit Val's spacecraft. He was served a food of high protein value and a drink that was green in color and tasted like papaya. The ship had no square corners, and the crew was briefed each morning only after a kind of worship service. Subsequently, Dr. Strange's had a number of run-ins with what people in the extraterrestrial movement call the Men in Black. From what I have been able to gather, they are a group of people on Earth who physically intimidate and sometimes kill those people who are openly discussing the UFO phenomenon. I have read of hundreds of cases of this kind of harassment. Some believe that they are from other planets. Dwal Kool told me that they are from this planet. These men are very evil, and any person openly involved with extraterrestrials needs to be aware of their presence. At the time of the writing of Stranger at the Pentagon in 1967, there were, according to Val, 103 Victor-class spacecraft from Mars on or near the surface of the Earth, at some 287 locations. The first Victor-class craft visited Earth nearly 6,000 years ago. The total number of crew on one Victor-class craft is 200. Many classes about Earth are taught aboard the craft, including Earth sciences, Earth people and their habits, the fall of humankind and the salvation by Jesus Christ, the psychology of the human being, the reason for the human being, the history of humankind, and the ultimate position of humankind in the universe. With gratitude, I thank Dr. Frank Strange's for recording the information in this chapter in his book Stranger at the Pentagon. 10. Venus. Their mission is to help the Adamic race, humans, develop on mental, moral, and material levels. Extraterrestrials from Venus. People on planet Earth have been being contacted by beings from Venus for at least the past 18.5 million years because Anataamara, Earth's planetary logos, came from Venus with 105 brother Kumaras to initiate the spiritual hierarchy for this planet. Venus is a sister planet who embodies the love focus. She is a sacred planet and serves as an elder sister in a planetary sense. You might not know that Jesus came from Venus, as did Buddha, for they are also Kumaras. This extraterrestrial contact story is from a book called The White Sands Incident, by Dr. Daniel Fry. The book tells the story of Mr. Rolf Tolano and his extraterrestrial contact with a Venusian named Borealis. Borealis is a member of an extraterrestrial race called the Norse, who are one of the elder races, or guardian races, of planet Earth. The story begins on a deserted country road in 1950 when Rolf Tolano saw a spacecraft land about 70 feet in front of him. The craft was spheroid in shape and flattened on the top and the bottom. The dimensions of the craft were 16 feet high by about 30 feet wide. Rolf went up to get a closer look and had reached out to touch the craft when a voice sharply said, "Better not touch the hull, pal, it's still hot. Take it easy, you're among friends." It turned out that the craft was a remote-controlled cargo vehicle, and there were no extraterrestrials aboard. The Venusians who were controlling the craft were in a mothership 900 miles above, watching Rolf and talking to him through the communication system on the craft. The cargo craft was on an exploratory mission to collect samples of the Earth's atmosphere so that Borealis could get accustomed to the atmosphere before embarking on his mission to actually live on Earth. Rolf was invited to go for a ride and was told that if he wanted to, they would travel to New York and back in 30 minutes. Given the fact that New York was 2,000 miles away, that meant they would have to travel at a speed of 8,000 miles an hour. He was told he would not feel the acceleration in the slightest. He accepted their offer and they were true to their word, giving him one of the great experiences of his life. The Venusians said that tens of thousands of years ago, their ancestors had actually lived on the Earth in the civilization known as Lemuria. They built a great empire and developed science and technology on the planet, but eventually they had to leave. During a second contact, the Venusians requested Rolf's help in their mission to be of service to planet Earth and its people. They told him that it would not be easy, that he would probably not be believed and would be ridiculed, but that he would receive great satisfaction for assisting the survival of his race and would also gain considerable knowledge and understanding. They also told him that if he refused, there was no penalty, but they would have to erase his memories of meeting them. Rolf agreed to help. Since this contact occurred in 1950 when the masses of humanity were not quite as open to the idea that extraterrestrials exist as they are now, they wanted Rolf to write a book and share his experiences and the Venusians' message with the inhabitants of Earth, that planet Earth is not alone in the universe. Borealis was actually a high priest of the Mother Temple on Venus. They are monotheists and refer to God as the Unnamable, which, interestingly enough, echoes Judaism. Borealis' present home is not on Venus but on a higher frequency world that is somewhat larger than Venus, much as Sanat Kumara and his brother Kumaras first came to Earth from Venus as etheric beings. The Norse are mortal beings even though they are not physical in the sense that humans are physical. They are etheric beings who are able to make themselves physical either with their own mind power or by using special instruments they wear on their belts. They can materialize into any race of being or any animal form. They regard themselves as brothers and sisters of humans. According to Borealis, in 1950, the Norse were the largest group of extraterrestrials operating in this solar system. Their actual appearance is similar to that of Earth's Nordic races who, they say, took their name from them. This particular race of Norse lives in several different solar systems. They have bases and colonies on Mars and Venus. They also have a base on the Moon, as do several other groups of extraterrestrials. Other extraterrestrial groups often use Mars and Venus as check-in points since they are the planets closest in proximity to Earth. Their spacecraft is controlled manually, automatically, or by mind power. The Venusians who operate the craft are much more skilled in the mental sciences than are the rest of their people. Many craft are operating in the vicinity of the Earth even though most people don't see them unless they are clairvoyant or unless the Venusians choose to materialize their ships. They use 7 different types of ships besides the motherships that transport the smaller craft. 5 of these carry crews while 2 are robotic in nature. 2 of the craft are crescent in shape like a disc from which a bite has been taken. Another one is cigar-shaped and is about 100 feet long and 25 feet wide. Yet another type of craft is donut-shaped. The other 3 types are spherical, or ball-shaped. Their space patrols work under a galactic council composed of representatives from all the advanced planets. The Space Patrol executes the orders of the Galactic Council and can serve as an armed force in extreme cases. The craft are heavily armed with disintegrators rays that make an H-bomb look like a bow and arrow. These weapons are hardly ever used but are available in an emergency. They guard backward planets such as Earth from outside threats. They also teach ethical and scientific information where appropriate under universal law. The crews are made up of men and women, and often families travel together. The people on Venus have a much higher ethical and moral standard than the people on Earth have. Their highest ethical foundation is that of universal brotherhood. They regard all intelligent beings on all planets throughout the universe, no matter what type of physical bodies they might have, as their brothers and sisters. They might be on a low level of evolvement, but they are still brothers. Venusians teach that each being's inner self is part of the unnamable one. To hurt a brother or sister is no different from biting off your own tongue or gouging out your own eye in a fit of anger. In a spiritual sense, Venusians know other people are a part of themselves to the same extent that humans perceive their physical bodies to be part of themselves. The people on Venus are highly telepathic. Moral pressure, hence, becomes a powerful instrument, for it is hard for anyone to conceal anything. Divorce is almost unknown. Their lifespan is several thousand years, and then they do get old. Since everyone believes in reincarnation, they choose 2 trusted friends to be parents for their next body. Wouldn't that be nice? The population is relatively stable because of their long lifespan, and children are much rarer than they are on Earth. Children are not seen as possessions but rather as friends who require a temporary amount of care and protection until they have regained their previous memory. The mission of the Venusians is to help the Adamic, human, race develop on mental, moral, and material levels. They have been working with Earth since its inception, however, they are usually present in greater numbers during times of crisis. The present transition of this planet from the Piscean to the Aquarian Age is one of those times. Since the dropping of the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they have been especially focused on Earth, for obvious reasons. 11. The Ashtar Command. The airborne division of the Great White Brotherhood. Commander Ashtar. One of the most intriguing extraterrestrial groups of them all is the Ashtar Command. Commander Ashtar is the being who is in charge of the airborne division of the Great White Brotherhood, or the Brotherhood of Light. He and his vast extraterrestrial army of over 20 million beings work in conjunction with the Ascended Masters. Besides the 20 million personnel under his command in this solar system, there are another 4 million members and workers on the physical plane. Commander Ashtar himself is a great and noble being approximately 7 feet in height, with blue eyes. His body is of the Adam-Cadmon type. He evolved on the planets Ashtar and Venus and has never had an embodiment on planet Earth. Although Commander Ashtar is in charge of the space fleet in this solar system, he is not restricted to this sector of space in terms of his service. He represents this solar system in the council meetings of this galaxy and of universes throughout the greater omniverse. One of the important things to understand about Commander Ashtar and his army of workers and fleet of extraterrestrial craft is that they are etheric in nature. Even though they do not have physical bodies, they are able to manifest their bodies and their craft onto the physical plane anytime they want to. A human seeing them would not think of them as being any different from another human. 11. The Ashtar Command. The airborne division of the Great White Brotherhood. Commander Ashtar. One of the most intriguing extraterrestrial groups of them all is the Ashtar Command. Commander Ashtar is the being who is in charge of the airborne division of the Great White Brotherhood, or the Brotherhood of Light. He and his vast extraterrestrial army of over 20 million beings work in conjunction with the Ascended Masters. Besides the 20 million personnel under his command in this solar system, there are another 4 million members and workers on the physical plane. Commander Ashtar himself is a great and noble being approximately 7 feet in height, with blue eyes. His body is of the Adam-Cadmon type. He evolved on the planets Ashtar and Venus and has never had an embodiment on planet Earth. Although Commander Ashtar is in charge of the space fleet in this solar system, he is not restricted to this sector of space in terms of his service. He represents this solar system in the council meetings of this galaxy and of universes throughout the greater omniverse. One of the important things to understand about Commander Ashtar and his army of workers and fleet of extraterrestrial craft is that they are etheric in nature. Even though they do not have physical bodies, they are able to manifest their bodies and their craft onto the physical plane anytime they want to. A human seeing them would not think of them as being any different from another human. Indeed, members of the Ashtar Command walk among humanity on the streets of this world without anyone's being aware of it. Most of the life on the other planets in this solar system is etheric in nature. Sometimes for this reason these beings have been called Etherians. They would not be considered discarnate beings, for they do have bodies. They are in a state of evolution just as humans are, and their lives are not that much different from those of humans, except that they have transcended much of the lower self and astral desire that the people of Earth struggle with so frequently. Commander Ashtar also works closely with the Angelic Kingdom, specifically with Archangel Michael. Commander Ashtar is an extremely loving and gentle being but is stern and adamant in his mission to serve, educate, and protect humankind throughout the solar system. Commander Ashtar and his crew do not wish to be seen as gods but rather as comrades and equals on the paths of ascension and beyond. Two of his main missions are to spiritually educate humans as to their true reason for being here and to defend and protect the Earth and the solar system from hostile and selfish extraterrestrial groups. Much gratitude is owed him and his tireless workers. Ashtar's first contact. Commander Ashtar's first open contact with planet Earth came in the 1950s through a man by the name of George Van Tassel. On July 18, 1952, George was given a telepathic message from a space intelligence by the name of Portla that his chief was about to enter this solar system for the first time. Then the first message from Commander Ashtar was broadcast. The following are some fragments of that first message. Hail to you, beings of Shan, Earth. I greet you in love and peace. My identity is Ashtar, Commandant Quadrisector, Patrol Station Share. The purpose of this organization is, in a sense, to save mankind from himself. Some years ago, your time, nuclear physicists penetrated the book of knowledge. They discovered how to explode the atom. Disgusting as the results have been, that this force should be used for destruction, it is not compared to that which can be. We are concerned, however, with their attempt to explode the hydrogen element. When they explode the hydrogen atom, they shall extinguish life on this planet. They are tinkering with a formula they do not comprehend. We are not concerned with man's desire to continue war on this planet, Shan. We are concerned with their deliberate determination to extinguish humanity and turn this planet into a cinder. This is quite a powerful message, I am sure you would agree. The full message can be read in a book by Tuela called Ashtar, a Tribute, which I recommend. It is no accident that extraterrestrial activity increased 100-fold after atomic bombs were dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. In developing this dangerous technology, humanity was endangering the entire solar system and, hence, even the galaxy. It was upon that occasion that the extraterrestrial forces throughout this solar system, galaxy, universe, and even universes were mobilized to help Earth and prevent further destruction from occurring. In the sacred teachings it is said that a planet in this solar system called Maldek did obliterate itself through just this process of tampering with nuclear technology. The real battle that the Ashtar Command is fighting is for the minds of the people of Earth. Will they serve the soul and spirit or the lower self, negative ego, and astral materialistic desire? Commander Ashtar also works very closely with the Christ and also with Jesus, who in the higher planes is called Sananda. Commander Ashtar has literally millions of spaceships at his disposal for emergency purposes. He has not only his own fleet but also unlimited numbers of craft available from the galactic fleets and even from the universal fleets, if he should make the call for help. In many of the Ashtar channelings there has been mention of an evacuation by these fleets if Earth should go through massive changes or any other kind of catastrophe. From the information I have received, that danger has now passed and the project of evacuation is no longer necessary. The Ashtar Command has motherships anchored in space that are as much as 100 miles in diameter. These motherships contain entire cities populated by millions of people in a thriving society. The Ashtar Command is part of a great confederation of planets, including this solar system and this galaxy. In the center circle is the Ashtar Command, which is in charge of this solar system. Then there is the Interplanetary Confederation, which includes a larger group of planets in this sector of space. Then there is the Galactic Confederation of Planets. Beyond that is the Interdimensional Federation of Free Worlds. Each of these councils works in conjunction with the planetary, solar, galactic, and universal spiritual hierarchies. The universe is divided into different sectors of space and different dimensions of reality. Commander Ashtar is the representative from this solar system to the various council meetings through the universe. Each of the confederations is accountable to the one above it in terms of the hierarchy of authority. These confederations have not openly accepted Earth into their circle because of humanity's egocentric, materialistic, warlike nature. The Ashtar Command has most definitely made physical contact with leaders of the US and the former Soviet Union and has been listened to some extent. However, the bottom line is that earthly government leaders are always more interested in military technology than in spiritual growth. It is hoped that will begin to change. The confederations and the Ashtar Command are not allowed to interfere with humanity's free choice unless humans interfere with other members of the universe, which atomic and hydrogen bombs certainly do. So eventually, instead of the United Nations on Earth, there will be the Federation of United Worlds. Human thinking will move from a one-world attitude, which hasn't even been achieved yet, to a one solar system, one galaxy, one universe, and finally to a one omniverse attitude. That will be a great day in the evolution of planet Earth. Then Earth will be able to take its rightful place in solar, galactic, and universal affairs. It is important to understand that each planet has its own spiritual hierarchy, just as each solar system has its own solar hierarchy, and on up the ladder throughout the galaxies and universes. These hierarchies work in perfect unison and harmony with the confederations. The Ashtar Command's entire function is to be of service, and it goes wherever it is needed throughout the sector to fulfill this function in all possible ways. Many of the crew members return to their home planets for vacations and shifts rotate. The command's craft have been patrolling this system for many ages, since long before contact was made in the 50s. The Ashtar Command and the negative extraterrestrials. There are many extraterrestrial civilizations throughout the galaxy, universe, and omniverse that have come to Earth to collect data and perform experiments for their own selfish purposes. They are not here to be of service. Some of these extraterrestrials are of what might be termed a neutral nature, and some are serving the dark forces. There are also negative extraterrestrials who openly oppose the Great White Brotherhood and the Ashtar Command. They would seize the planet and take it over if they could. It is the Ashtar Command and civilizations like that of Arcturus that have protected Earth so that does not take place. Just as in Star Trek, there are bands of renegades in starships that are escorted out of this sector. The Ashtar Command serves in a certain sense as Heaven's police force. In her channelings, Tuella has said that beings from 6 planets in the Orion system and a group called the Darrows from inner space have had to be cordoned off. As a general rule, the cigar-shaped craft are the potentially dangerous extraterrestrials, although there are a few exceptions. One of the problems the Ashtar Command has is that if an earthly government makes legally binding agreements with negative extraterrestrial groups, the command is not allowed to interfere. Free choice is a tenet of cosmic law unless the solar system and galaxy are being endangered. The number of negative extraterrestrials is small compared to the vast number of positive extraterrestrials. However, the negative ones are quite dangerous if not controlled. Thank goodness for the Ashtar Command. The motherships. The Ashtar Command's mothership, or space cities, usually have 12 levels. The first level is for the entry and exit of craft. The second level is a vast stockroom of supplies for all the other levels of the ship. The third level is a zoo, with animals from many worlds. The fourth level is used for agricultural research, farmland, gardens, and orchards. The fifth level is the housing center for technicians and other persons working on the first 4 levels. The sixth level is the recreational level, with vast parks and landscaping. The seventh level is the medical complex. The eighth level is housing for evacuees, should it ever be needed. The ninth level is the university compound, complete with libraries, halls of wisdom, concert halls, and areas for other cultural activities. Level 10 is where visiting dignitaries from all dimensions go. The 11th level is the headquarters for the Ashtar Command and the Great Rotunda Meeting Hall. Level 12 is referred to as the Dome. It is the pilot control center and officer's observation deck. Visitors are allowed to observe by appointment and in groups. Down through the center of the mothership is a circular shaft that is a power reactor for the entire craft. Ashtar has described one particular mothership called the Shan-Chi as the largest of the orbiting cities that encircle the solar system. This is the ship that Commander Ashtar apparently lives on most of the time. Trapped essences. In an absolutely fascinating transcript from the Tibetan Foundation, Betty J. Dix channeled Ashtar on the subject of trapped energy in the Earth. In this transcript, Ashtar speaks of the later days of Atlantis when the sons of Belial, egocentric people and lords of materialism, trapped many people's essences within pseudo-crystals. I don't mean to say that the soul extension or incarnated personality itself was trapped, but rather that a certain portion of the soul extension's energy was trapped. The pseudo-crystals are not true crystals. True crystals would not allow that to happen. The sons of Belial created the pseudo-crystals to look like regular crystals, and some of them are coming to the surface of the planet now. Ashtar says that these crystals don't feel right when you pick them up. The energy in them feels dead. In order for these souls to go to their next level in evolution, their trapped essences need to be released. Souls on the inner plane are requesting that this work be done now because of the great transformation that is taking place on Earth. Ashtar is requesting that all lightworkers help in this important work. The crystals don't have to be physically broken to release the energy, just worked with energetically. Some of the pseudo-crystals can be placed on crystal clusters and asked to heal and release the energies that have been trapped inside. It can also be requested that the pseudo-crystal heal and become a true crystal. Interestingly enough, when the trapped essence leaves, many pseudo-crystals just disappear. Some transmute into another form and others into a true crystal in its beginning stages of conscious development. Ashtar states that these pseudo-crystals are all over the planet, but are found especially in Africa, South America, and the United States. Once it is released, the essence will usually return to its soul. In some cases, the trapped essence may need some guidance to return to the soul. In Atlantis, toward the end time, the sons of Belial actually created entrapment machines to accomplish the process. They were able to do it without the machines, but the machines did it faster. He also says that implants were used to pull out the essences. It is very important to make people aware of this phenomenon, for most people have never heard of it. Ashtar says that out of 20 pounds of crystals, as many as 5 pounds could be pseudo-crystals. Working with pseudo-crystals in meditation to release the trapped essences and transform the pseudo-crystals is a great service that can be rendered to many souls. The pseudo-crystals can also be worked with without coming into physical contact with them, although some will have to be physically touched to facilitate the releasing process. The more lightworkers focus on releasing the trapped essences, the more others will be able to come to the surface, for many are trapped in the earth. Ashtar says that in the future the earth will be of such a great magnitude of light that the essences will be unable to stay. Most of the pseudo-crystals look like clear quartz, smoky quartz, and a lavender shade of amethyst. You will not be able to know a pseudo-crystal by just looking at it. You will have to feel it to know for sure, although when viewed clairvoyantly, the distinction is obvious. Ashtar says that there are hundreds of thousands of pseudo-crystals. Major grid points that need clearing. Another service that lightworkers can render the Ashtar command and the Great White Brotherhood is in the cleansing of certain grid points on the planet. The Earth is covered with energy meridians called ley lines, much in the same way that humans have acupuncture meridians. When one of these points gets blocked in the physical body, stagnation occurs in the energy flow, which eventually leads to disease. The same is true of planet Earth. Commander Ashtar points out in the same transcript that some of the grid points on the Earth need clearing. A major one is in the center of the Pacific Ocean. Another is in the northern part of Canada, close to the Arctic Circle. Unstable forces have been stored there since the time of Atlantis. There is another one directly below New York City which is tied to the chaotic energy of the city itself. Ashtar is requesting humanity's help in releasing these unstable forces, which will also help to heal the Earth Mother herself. Some additional points are south of the Hawaiian Islands, almost on the equator, off the coast of Africa, also close to the equator, in Russia, where there are 2 points, at the North and South Poles, underneath the tip of South Africa, which is partly why there is so much dissension there, and beneath Colombia, Ecuador, and the Gulf of Thailand. The best way to help in the cleansing of these points is to use a group dynamic. This can be done by following a grid line until you come to a blockage. Calling for the help of the soul, the monad, the Great White Brotherhood, and the Ashtar command, a laser light can be visualized shining into it. Ask for the soul's and monad's help in focusing the correct amount of laser light. Underground Ashtar Command Conferences. One of the ways the Ashtar Command can be contacted is while sleeping. Large conferences are held which are attended by physical beings, etheric beings, and beings from other planets. These conferences occur at least twice monthly. Many lightworkers attend 5 or 6 conferences a year. One of them dealt with how to clean up the pollution in the air, sea, and ground. Sometimes these conferences meet every night for as long as 2 or 3 weeks. Many beings attend in their astral bodies. Commander Ashtar is very pleased to see how fast the light is growing on Earth and to see the unfolding spiritual commitment of so many lightworkers. Tuela's wonderful book, Ashtar, A Tribute, is one of the best sources for information about the Ashtar command. 12. Arcturus. Arcturus is one of the most advanced civilizations in our entire galaxy. Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce has said in his channelings that Arcturus is one of the most advanced civilizations in this galaxy. It is a fifth-dimensional civilization that is a prototype for Earth's future. Its energy works as an emotional, mental, and spiritual healer for humanity. It is also an energy gateway through which humans pass during death and rebirth. It functions as a way station for non-physical consciousness to become accustomed to physicality. The Book of Knowledge, The Keys of Enoch, describes it as the midway programming center used by the physical brotherhoods in this universe to govern the many rounds of experiments with physicals at this end of the galaxy. Arcturus itself is the brightest star in the Boötes constellation, which is approximately 36 light-years from Earth. Some fascinating information comes from a book by Norma Milanovic called We, the Arcturians, which I highly recommend. Of all the extraterrestrial civilizations, I feel most drawn to Arcturus, probably because of their total focus in every aspect of society on the path of God realization. For that reason I will go into detail in describing their wonderful civilization. I also have the good fortune to know someone from Arcturus who is living on the Earth plane. She is one of the most spiritually gifted people I know. My connection with her and her work has greatly enhanced my own life and spiritual path. The Arcturians teach that the most fundamental ingredient for living in the fifth dimension is love. Negativity, fear, and guilt must be overcome and exchanged for love and light. The Arcturians work in close connection with the Ascended Masters whom they call the Brotherhood of the All. They also work closely with what they refer to as the Galactic Command. The Arcturians travel the universe in their starships, which are some of the most advanced in the entire universe. One of the reasons Earth has not been attacked by warlike negative extraterrestrials has been those civilizations' fears of the advanced starships of the Arcturians. Their ships are state-of-the-art technology, far beyond anything I have mentioned so far. One of the starships circling the Earth is called the starship Athena, after the Greek goddess. Arcturian society is governed by the Elders, who are revered by the people of Arcturus for their advanced knowledge, wisdom, and extremely high vibrational frequencies. The higher the vibrational frequency, the closer one is to light, or spirit, or God. The Arcturians are short in physical stature, about 3 to 4 feet tall, and slender. They look very much alike, which they are happy about because it erases the pettiness of comparing looks which is so predominant in earthly society. The Arcturians are the most loving and non-judgmental beings you can possibly imagine. Their skin is a greenish color. They have very large, almond-shaped eyes. They have only 3 fingers. They have the ability to move objects with their minds and are totally telepathic. Their source of nourishment is an effervescent liquid that is highly vitalizing to their entire being. Their eyes are dark brown or black. Their main source of seeing is actually with their telepathic nature, not their physical eyes. Their sense of hearing transcends even their telepathic nature. They also have an ability to sense with the back of their heads. The average lifespan is from 350 to 400 Earth years. Their highly developed spiritual nature has allowed them to avoid aging, since they have the ability to transcend time and space. They terminate life when the contract that has been arranged for their existence is finished. There is no sickness in Arcturus, it was eliminated centuries ago. In the Arcturian system there are not extreme temperatures. Their civilization is one that has transcended duality and lives in oneness. Professions on Arcturus are determined by a person's vibrational frequency and the colors his or her aura. For example, those who are in charge of taking care of the children must have violet as the predominant color in their auras, for only the wisest souls are allowed to associate with the young. The same is true for those who are allowed to give birth. They are screened and tested in terms of their auric and vibrational frequencies, and when chosen by the Elders to give birth to an Arcturian child, an amazing process occurs. The vibrations of both individuals involved are raised to a 7th dimensional frequency for the birthing process to ensure bringing in the most highly evolved souls. The 7th dimensional frequency is that of an ascended master. Reproduction is an honor on Arcturus and one of the highest professions. The actual reproductive act is not performed in a physical sense as it is understood on Earth. On Arcturus it is done through a kind of mind link in which the male and female energies are perfectly balanced. Through this procreation process, some kind of electron force flows through the two beings, and it creates another being that is a replica of the light. The new life form is then taken to a special room that emanates the proper vibrational frequencies until the being is ready for integration into a family unit on Arcturus. Many beings from Arcturus are seeded onto other planets because the High Council has ordered this as a great act. On Arcturus there is no competition. Every thought, word, deed, and product is judged by its ability to raise the vibration closer to God. If it does not exist on Arcturus. A person's frequency of vibration is directly related to the mastery he has over his body, emotions, thoughts, actions, and creations. Arcturians have total mastery over these aspects of self. They have developed the ability to transcend the ego, or separative, lower, fear-based self. Success is judged only in terms of the measure of light frequency. There are machines that constantly check the vibrational frequencies each individual on the planet is manifesting. If one particular Arcturian gets feedback that he is not meeting his own goals for evolution, then immediately the elders send teachers to help that individual. There is never any comparison with others, only measurement against one's own goals. All scores registered by the frequency measuring machines are kept private except from the elders and ascended masters. The only way to evolve on Arcturus, or anywhere in the universe, for that matter, is to be of service, so other fellow Arcturians are happy to help in any way they can. Arcturians live very much in a group consciousness, since they recognize all are one. If one individual is having problems meeting his goals, then that affects everyone. On Arcturus, everyone truly is his brother's keeper. Each person grows at the speed he feels comfortable with. These machines might measure the amount of love, patience, tolerance, and lack of judgmentalness. Human society would do well to receive this kind of feedback. In the Arcturian system there are no liquids like rivers, lakes, and oceans, so they are fascinated by humans' use of water for recreation and power, even though they have many elements on their planet that Earth doesn't have. Their basic energy form is liquid light. Arcturus can provide a glimpse of Earth's future. The Arcturian starships. The Arcturian starships are the finest in the entire universe. They are propelled by crystals that do not come from that planet but from a planet in the Milky Way that has not been discovered by earthly scientists. These crystals have a way of conducting light energy from the great central sun. The Arcturians say that they no longer use computers because they long ago outgrew the need for them. They have other systems that are far more advanced. One section of the starship is a replication of Arcturus. It has the ability to take any crew member back to Arcturus in his etheric body. This helps to strengthen and rejuvenate crew members who are away from home for long periods of time as they traverse the universes. Earth's frequency is very harsh for Arcturians because of their fifth-dimensional frequency. Arcturians don't eat but are able to ingest energy. The Arcturians sleep for only a short time once a week, but for them it is a scared time to soul travel and connect to higher realms of consciousness. Another room in an Arcturian starship has a complete databank containing every aspect of Earth life and of life on other planets as well. Arcturians are able to ingest information by means of their telepathic abilities and through their nervous systems. This process is similar to ingesting food, but it occurs on an energy level. They are able to assimilate information 100 times faster than the average human being on Earth. An Arcturian ship has a room that strengthens the vibration of all who enter it so they will not be overwhelmed by even the strongest vibrations of planet Earth. The Arcturians are able to travel through time. They also have shuttlecraft that are global in shape, which are used for activating energy points and grids on Earth that have been lying dormant for many centuries. The Arcturians have been working with Earth since life first started on this planet. They have many bases on Earth, and they also have 3 bases on the Moon. Many of their bases on Earth are inside mountains. Arcturians can manifest physically, but they also exist in the etheric state, so physical matter is not an obstacle to them. There is a vaporizing section in a starship that can instantly make any person or object disappear. They use it on a person only if he has died. The amazing thing about this machine is that whatever is vaporized can be resolidified at any time in the future just by checking the ship's records. The more I learn about Arcturus, the more Star Trek seems realistic. Many souls are brought to the Arcturian starships during the dream state where they are worked on and helped, although the Arcturians never invade a person's free choice as the Greys are doing. The Arcturians are here to assist humans in entering the fourth and fifth dimensions of reality and in raising their vibrational frequencies. They stand as the guardians and protectors of higher consciousness in the universe. They are based in every country on the planet and, in fact, have bases all over the universe. They are here to educate humanity but have had a difficult time dealing with the government and the military, who are primarily interested in military technology, not spiritual enlightenment. The Arcturians could help in an even greater and more open capacity than they are now, but the people who govern the United States and the world are so materialistically and egoistically oriented that they resist the help of these incredibly advanced beings. Instead, the U.S. government made a deal with the Greys, who are very selfish beings interested only in taking over the world for their own greedy purposes. This is a sad commentary on how the people of the United States have allowed themselves to lose control of their government. The government has sold out to the dark forces for the purposes of greed and power, but it has backfired. If it were not for the Ascended Masters and other selfless beings such as the Arcturians and the Ashtar Command, humanity would be in deep trouble. Other Arcturian technology. The vaporizing machines and the machines used to transfer a person into another dimensional frequency are also used to decode a person's entire genetic structure and physical body. The Arcturians have said that there is not a being in any galaxy or universe they have visited whom they could not heal by using these machines to diagnose the problem and then to make the most minute corrections. These machines can also be used to teleport beings from one location to another. Another mission of the Arcturians is to transfer gigantic beds of crystals to certain locations in the Earth's crust. Doing so usually results in much activity around those areas and in an energizing of planet Earth herself. There are machines throughout the starship that are constantly monitoring each crew member's vibrational frequencies to make sure that no depletion is taking place and that each person is growing and emanating love and light as his soul has intended. This information is, again, kept private except for the elders, who will then design programs to help that individual make the needed corrections so he and the group may realize God more fully. Since Arcturians see no separation between themselves and others, to help another is to help oneself, and vice versa. The basic curriculum of the Arcturians involves teaching each person to know his God self. This is done through education, medicine, healing, arts, and entertainment. The Arcturians have met with the presidents and premiers of many countries and have exchanged some information on an equal basis. They have made an interesting observation. Every time they make contact with governmental leaders, they are immediately introduced to the military commander. That makes the Arcturians wonder who is really in charge. Nonetheless, they are currently working in 33 countries and have also made contact with the beings of the Hollow Earth. One of the ways they communicate with Earthlings is to write letters which are then teleported to the place they are to be found. Sometimes the Arcturians appear physically. Other ways they make contact are through telepathy or channeling and by bringing soul extensions aboard their ships, although that is done only if the person has given his permission in the etheric state. They also communicate with people in their dreams. The Arcturians follow a code that is much like the Prime Directive of Star Trek fame. The code prohibits them from interfering with a civilization unless they are specifically requested to come. Prayers from people on Earth and requests from the Ascended Masters, angels, and celestial beings have brought them to Earth during this critical turning point in history, as humanity moves into the Golden Age. I would like to fully acknowledge Norma Milanovich's book, We, the Arcturians, as the main source of the material in this chapter. She is a fantastic channel, and this is the best book available on the subject.